What's going on, YouTube? This is Daytime David back with episode 2 of Daytime Talks. So, picking up where we left off last time with the Roman Reigns video, I wanted to go a little bit into an idea that I had shortly after that one. Well, actually, yeah, it was shortly after that one. It's an idea that I had for the Samoan Dynasty, and to set off something that I'm thinking of called Faction Wars, which I don't know. It could be a new pay-per-view or something like that. I mean, WWE, they have new pay-per-views like every couple years or something like that. So why not, right? Because they're doing Super Showdown this year. This is the first. So anyway, here's what we're doing. It's about setting up the Samoan Dynasty, and it's also about having this faction be the catalyst to what will become a faction war. And the reason why I'm calling it like faction wars is because WWE does the joint pay-per-views, so you have Raw and SmackDown competitors at the same pay-per-views. So why not just do something interesting and have a little bit of a faction rivalry going on? So the first faction out of this faction war idea that I came up with is, the Samoan Dynasty. It's one of the ones where it's just like it's been talked about in the hype up with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar the first time. And this is something that struck me as an interesting idea because you have so many different Samoan wrestlers. Some wrestlers that you don't even know is Samoan. So, without any further ado, here we go. So, basically, what I want to do is I want to start this off by just, getting you guys clear. What I'm going to do is I'm going to project a storyline starting from Hell in the Cell and then leading it all the way to the end of the year at TLC. As far as I saw, I think as late as yesterday or the day before, TLC is going to be the last pay-per-view on the 2008 schedule. So I'm just letting you guys know that's where I'm getting that from. Okay? So now another thing that I want to let you know before I get too deep into this is that I do know that some of the members that I'm going to put on this faction are not actually Samoan or are not actually a part of the Enowahi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, guys, I'm sorry. The Enowahi family. So just roll with me here because they, those that may not be a part of that particular branch of the family or that clan, I guess you could say, they do have some close ties. Like for example, Haku or Ming, as he was also known. He wasn't necessarily part of the family, but he did team up with the Tonga Kid or Tama, and not a lot of people probably remember that. Well, I'm kind of dating myself here, but he was closely affiliated with the family, so you would assume that he was part of the family because the majority of the members accept him as part of the family. So anyway, here's where it begins. So Roman, picking up with my previous video, Roman would be in the early stages of his heel turn, right? The heel turn would have happened at SummerSlam because Roman would have faced Brock. Roman would have beat Brock. Strowman would have cashed in on Roman. Roman would have lost his proverbial shit, and he would have speared everybody left and right. Kurt Angle, would have suspended him at first for 2 weeks, and yada yada. You can check that out in the video. But here's the thing. So because of that suspension, Roman wouldn't be back on WWE television live until Hell in a Cell, right? So at Hell in a Cell, it's Roman versus Strowman for the Universal title, right? Because Roman would have lost, he would have, exercised his rematch clause, and he would have, of course, been suspended until he can actually compete in that match, which would have been taking place at Hell in a Cell. So now we're at Hell in a Cell. The match is almost finished. Roman looks like he's about to finish off the show with maybe the execution of his new finishing move, because everybody thinks it's the spear, but he hits the spear. Strowman doesn't go down, so you see Roman kind of mouth, maybe either to the camera or just to no one in general. It's like, it's time to bring out the big guns, right? He says something to that effect. When he's about to do that, two masked individuals come rush the ring, shove Roman out the way, and that forces a DQ. Roman wins because of the DQ, but he doesn't get the championship. So Strowman does, in fact, retain the belt because of the interference. Now, Roman gets up and he's like, yo, what is this going on here, right? So the two guys, they look at Roman. Roman looks at them, and Roman is like, huh. He kind of gives them a head nod, right? They pull off their mask. It's the Authors of Pain. This is what you do to premiere the Authors of Pain. I mean, I think that would be a great way to bring them in, and really make them, give them a spotlight and make them important, right? Now, you have the Authors of Pain in the ring. You have Roman in the ring, and they look like they're all in cahoots with each other because they are. Roman directs them to go beat up on Strowman. Hell in a Cell ends with the three of them standing over Braun Strowman. Roman basically making it clear that they're all a team. These are his enforcers. Now, keep in mind, I know I said Samoan Dynasty, and I get it. You could probably go on Wikipedia and see that the Authors of Pain are not, in fact, Samoan. That's not the issue here. What you want to do is, because Roman is now in a heel turn, right? And Roman has done the whole one versus all thing before. What I want to do is I want to flip that around. He was doing the whole one versus all thing, right? And there was really during that time, there was really very little, if any, mention about his family or his connections with like guys like Rikishi, the Usos, anybody like that, right? So what I want to do is I want to flip that around. So instead of the one versus all thing, you have it where Roman isn't afraid to branch out and go grab the people that he's close with or that are down with his ideals, and he goes and he grabs them and he makes friends. But anyway, so Roman goes and on the next Raw after Hell in a Cell, he basically makes it clear that the Authors of Pain are his enforcers, right? I don't know about Paul Elric. I don't know if he's going to do main roster schedule. I don't know if that's going to be his thing. If he is, that would be great, because he could work the he could do what he's been doing with the Authors of Pain. Or if he doesn't, then you just switch out Paul Elric for Roman Reigns' position, where he's the seasoned guy on the main roster, and he's kind of taken the Authors of Pain under his wing to kind of get them, their winning streak, their heel winning streak, until you can get two baby faces to team up and take them down later on. But for right now, this is what we want to do. So Roman has two enforcers. What he wants to do is he wants to start branching out and going to the Samoan individuals that are either from his family or closely affiliated with his family. I can't stress that enough. So, who's the next one on Raw? Nia Jax. Why not? She technically is not a part of the Anoa'i family. I get that. But she does have ties with them, and she is The Rock's cousin after all. And The Rock is, cousins with Roman and the rest of the guys. But this is what we want to do. Because of that close affiliation, because her family is tied in through Peter Maivia, Great Chief Peter Maivia, and he's blood brothers with the Anoa'i siblings. I don't know how to pronounce their names. I'm not going to butcher their names. So that's how you get that bloodline affiliation or whatever. So he goes to Nia Jax and he says, hey, listen, you have been doing things their way, right? And where's that gotten you? Sure, you've been the champ one time, but I mean, don't you want to stay the champion? Don't you want to be the champion again and have a lasting reign, not something that only lasts like Roman could even say however many days it was exactly, with Nia's title reign, and he can say, well, look, the whole reason why you got scooped for the belt is because you didn't have backup. You didn't have anybody watching your back. So honestly, family takes care of family, and that's something that you should remember. So he leaves Nia Jax to think about that, and she, doesn't give the answer right then and there in that backstage promo segment. So we go into either later on that Monday night, or maybe even you follow it up with the next week, and you have Nia Jax really considering it, right? I would even say, just because it's going to be like about, I believe, like 5 weeks until the next pay per view at Super Showdown. So you could stretch this out week to week. But on that Raw, you would have the Authors of Pain go out there, show dominance in a tag match. Just basically just show why they're, a hard team to beat, and just show why they're such serious competition. Roman comes out there, of course, kind of giving cues, maybe even throwing in a little distraction in there as well, doing that. With that, Roman and Strowman have an issue because while Roman is out there, and maybe they're celebrating the win, Braun comes out because he's a little bit miffed that they jumped him. So Strowman comes out, starts fighting off Reigns. Strowman does look good, but the numbers games plays a part, and these are three big individuals. I like Strowman. I think he's good, and I do recognize his strength. However, strength is relative to the person, and then you have other individuals who are strong like that too. I mean, hell, he had a whole rivalry with Roman Reigns, and now we have Roman with the Authors of Pain. No, 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 no. We got to make this look good. So they turn it around, and they maybe they put Strowman through a table or something like that, or they do kind of like a modified triple move. Not like the triple power bomb with the Shield, but they do a triple move, right? So they stand over him. They set up this rivalry to go, further on. Maybe for the next 2 or 3 weeks, they do it where Braun has to battle A.o.P. Then next week he has to battle Razor, and then the third week, maybe it's like a 2-on-1 kind of deal, to set things up for Roman at the next pay per view. But in that kind of go home Raw, when we get there, I want it to be Nia Jax's answer to Roman Reigns, where Nia Jax is thinking about it. Roman keeps on coming out, and maybe he's serving distractions so that each time Nia gets a win based off of Roman showing up in the middle of the match or towards the end of the match, the girl is distracted, Nia scoops the win. But you don't have to have Roman actually hands-on interfere, because Nia is a dominant force within herself. I think she can handle that just alone. So with the go-home show towards Super Show at this point, we would get there and then have Nia going up against somebody like, let's say, I don't know, you could even say somebody like Ronda Rousey. You could set that up and have that as your potential pay-per-view match to see who will go on to battle Alexa Bliss at Survivor Series, right? So I'm going to end off the video here, and in part 2, I'll explain the Usos and how we tie things in with SmackDown Live. But let me know what you think about this video. Leave a like, share it with your friends, subscribe, become an early riser. You can catch me on Patreon too if you want to further support, and I'll see you guys in part 2 in episode 3 of Daytime Talks.